Hi, my name is Tarni Davis and I will be discussing my educational philosophy. There are personal and professional experiences that will inform this educational philosophy. However, throughout my teaching career, I know this statement will continue to change and develop. Components that continue to influence my philosophy are embedding Indigenous knowledge into teaching and learning, as well as meeting the diverse needs of learners by motivating students. It is my belief that all Australian students should be culturally aware of the issues facing Indigenous Australians. At the same time, there should be an equal focus on ensuring Indigenous students have the access and support to be able to flourish and achieve their potential. As an Aboriginal woman, reflecting on my experience in the educational system has had an immense impact on my views. This process of reflection has manifested into a passion for Indigenous education and achieving positive outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students. It is my goal to be proficient in meeting the diverse needs for my students by developing an inclusive classroom using various strategies and pedagogies to show a differentiated curriculum. Specifically, this will result in teaching and learning directed towards diverse students. Utilization of educational theories such as John Dewey's educational theory, which caters to individual learning, plays an essential role in my philosophy. Another essential component of my teaching philosophy is recognizing the importance of supporting the motivation and engagement of students. It is my belief in the 21st century that students' retention hinges on helping them find their passion. During the early 2000s, I was attending primary school. This was also an eventful time for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the Australian government was starting to acknowledge the stolen generation and the meaning of reconciliation. This had personal significance for me, as the effect of the stolen generation on my family had a great impact on my value for education. Education, in my experience, was undervalued and not pushed for importance. Rather than being prioritised, education in my family was seen as more as an option. This would have held true for many other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander families. Moreover, I was bullied, stereotyped, and felt like an outcast for the first years of my schooling. I, however, was lucky enough to encounter a teacher that helped reconstruct my view of education. Mr. E had great values and beliefs that I looked up to. He was the only teacher that believed in me. I was a shy and timid person before meeting Mr. E. However, he made me feel comfortable in the class by fostering a good relationship and making an effort to connect culturally. For example, every Friday afternoon the class went to play sports. He made a conscious effort during this time to include culture by including Indigenous games. By connecting and relating to me through the love of sport, he made me feel safe. This personal experience played an active role in reconstructing my views about education. It made me want to come to school and do well. He was proud of where I'd come from and how much effort I would put in. I will always remember how he helped me and hope to create an atmosphere where all my students will feel safe and happy to share their skills and ideas. According to N. Noddings, the aims of education answers the question, why do we educate? He expresses that education has a means that might actively support the pursuit of happiness. It is my goal to create an environment which supports this. To achieve it, I will utilise various strategies and pedagogies. For example, those strategies recommended by the theorist John Dewey, who defines education as being able to understand and critically analyse individually. Dewey at the same time recognises that learning in a group or a community, or learning from other or from others unlike you benefit towards your own individual learning. This resonates with me, as during my primary schooling, I was raised not by my mum or dad, but I had aunties, uncles, my grandparents, and of course Mr. E. They were all part of my educational journey and have contributed to why I want to become a teacher. By having this community support around me, I was able to engage in learning in a positive and fun way. This influence is why I want to become a teacher. Further, it is to help other Indigenous and non-Indigenous children to realise their full potential. The Australian Professional Teaching Standards, APSTs, are the standards for the teaching profession. As I am currently a pre-service teacher, I am working toward embodying the graduate level of the standards. In ensuring quality teaching in my future practice, I aim to develop skills which will ensure all children are catered in line with the Australian curriculum and the APSTs and other educational policy. I aim to maximise learning opportunities for students by first understanding their backgrounds and individual characteristics. I will then use this information to inform the differentiated teaching, and as I understand the extent to which these factors impact on their learning. Moreover, a specific example of the standards which I can resonate with is Standard 2, Know the Content and How to Teach It, Focus Area 2.4, Understand and Respect for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to promote reconciliation between non-Indigenous and Indigenous Australians. I intend to cater to this element in my future teaching by, for example, using pedagogical methods such as the 8 Aboriginal ways of learning in my classroom. This is a clear example of why we need to be changing curriculum and applying the appropriate pedagogy frameworks in schools. I believe this 8-way pedagogy will benefit Indigenous and non-Indigenous children alike. I believe it will develop a process in which children develop their cultural values, beliefs, and problem-solving strategies whilst working alongside the regularities of numeracy and literacy. I believe ethical teaching. I also believe ethical teaching forms from your action and what we hope to achieve. My philosophy of education is that all children are unique and must have a stimulating educational environment where they can grow physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. It is my desire to create this type of atmosphere where students will achieve their full potential. I will provide a safe environment where students are invited to share their ideas and take risks. The Alice Springs Educational Declaration, a national declaration for from all educational ministers, has set out the Australian government's intentions to improve educational outcomes. The declaration has 2 goals. 1. All young Australians will become confident and creative individuals, successful lifelong learners, and active and informed members of the community. And number 2, the Australian educational system will provide excellence and equity. These are 2 goals which I both understand and support. They are goals that I, as a pre-service teacher, will partake in and embrace working toward. This is because I believe that codes of conduct and legislation are also an integral component in the making of a teaching philosophy. I believe this, coupled with my past education experience, will motivate me to influence students to help create a better society. To make change is to be a part of change. This is what I hope to do throughout my educational career. Thank you.